Oh, let's see what's been going on. We finally got our deck. We got all the deck boards on, so that is completed. We still need to do the fascia and the picture frame around the top, so that will still need to happen yet. But the boards that we need to do the fascia are way longer than anything we would be able to fit into our vehicles. Just not realistic that we transport ourselves, and shipping, oh my lord, would cost more than the actual boards themselves. So we have a weekend planned that my in-laws are going to come up, and they are going to ever so generously allow us to use their truck to get the deck boards, or the fascia boards, from the store home that weekend. And then we'll be able to finish the rest of it. My husband also the other day picked up a new water heater, because ours has been kind of questionable, and with having a toddler in the house, and multiple loads of laundry that need to get done each week, and her baths, just not interested in dealing with not having hot water, or needing to heat water on the stove for giving her a bath. Project that my husband has kind of been spending his time and energy looking into is providing a heat source and insulation for our garage. For those that live in colder climates, you will understand the benefit of having a heated storage space for your vehicle, both for your comfort as well as for the life of the vehicle. So we will be working on that at some point, probably early fall, definitely after we do our hiking trip in August. We are kind of taking a break right now from projects, just sort of enjoying having the patio done and being able to grill and eat outside and that sort of thing. Next month, we are going to start working on organizing the garages. We're going to start decluttering everything, and then going through and kind of organizing and figuring out what needs to be kept, how we want to store things, where it's going to be kept, what's going to be the best organization system for what we have going on. My husband, when he's given something that's well organized, he can maintain it pretty well, but he's not so good at how to do the actual organizing. So that's where I come in. It is going to be, August is our backpacking month. So that's going to be probably the majority of our spare time is going to be devoted to, packing our packs and, taking the dog and the baby for a walk, and, carrying our packs and getting used to that weight and that sort of thing. We've started kind of pulling a few pieces of food together, but for the most part, we have our gear. There is just a handful of things that I want to get. I think the biggest thing is the mosquito netting. My husband has mosquito netting for his hammock, but neither of us have a mosquito netting head thing that we can wear. And where we live, well, the mosquito is almost the state bird. We have so many of the plastic things. It's going to be pretty much near the end of August. So at that point is when we start turning our attention to the winterizing projects. So we have some more insulating that we need to do on our side entry this last winter. So we are going to be taking that plywood off and just seeing what sort of a situation we've got over there. And then putting in insulation, because we actually had to keep a blanket up over the doorway to our side entry, which is also our workout room. So our workout room did not get used at all, because it literally felt like you were stepping outside by just going behind that blanket. It was ridiculously cold. And then our bedroom is actually over our foot cellar walkout area, and but it doesn't cover the whole thing. So there's a section of our room up on the north and the east sides of our room that are basically, the floor is kind of exposed to the elements. So we have some more insulating and things to do there, because this last winter was kind of miserable in our bedroom. I had at least, well, we have our comforter, and then I usually had at least another 2 or 3 blankets on top of me, because I get very cold. My husband is kind of a furnace in himself, so he didn't get quite as cold, but he wasn't very comfortable either. So we are gonna do some more insulating there. Other than that, kind of the big news, the big decision that we've made recently. At least this is what we're going to do at this point. There may be time and we may change our minds. It's unlikely, but we may. We have decided that we are going to homeschool our daughter. I've been looking into it a ton. My sister homeschooled her kids. One of my sister-in-laws homeschools hers. I've been watching tons of YouTube videos from people who homeschool, from people who've been homeschooled, and just kind of getting a feel for what we could expect and what it's going to be like. I was actually homeschooled for 1 year when I was in elementary school. I think it was 3rd grade. Public school did not do me a ton of favors. It wasn't good for my husband either. He actually went to a private school because of his ADHD. But for me, I did all, elementary, high school, everything in public school. And I did okay in high school. But it wasn't until I got to college and really kind of got into a rhythm and figured out how I learned and how I studied best, and kind of took on that responsibility. It wasn't until then that I actually started doing really well. So I was, for the most part, a C student when I was in high school. By the time I got to like the last couple years of high school, sophomore, junior, senior, I had figured out a little bit. I had found some motivation and some drive. I had a goal in mind of what I wanted to do with my life. So I, worked a little bit harder. I wanted to see good grades, and I did okay. I got myself up to like B's pretty consistently with a smattering of A's in there too. But I figured it out. I think if I would, but there's also a lot of things that I was supposed to have learned in high school that I didn't learn very well, or I didn't retain, because I just didn't care. I wasn't in a place where I cared. And I think if I would have been put in a situation with somebody who really wanted and cared about what I was learning and what I was retaining, I think I would have done better. Especially if I would have been in a situation where it was a little bit more independent. My motivation for doing better in school was to be able to go PSEO. All my siblings had done it. Like, it was kind of the expected thing to do. But for me, it was a chance to get away from high school, because I hated high school. I really did. I hated the drama. I hated the attitudes and the teachers kind of having this double standard of, well, you guys are, you're going to be going to college soon, so you need to be taking responsibility for yourselves, but then not actually giving us the freedom to take responsibility for ourselves. And then when I got to college, I struggled a little bit because I wasn't used to that freedom during the day with classes to kind of do whatever I wanted. If I didn't want to go to class, I didn't have to go to class. I think there was actually a couple times where I skipped class just because I could. that wasn't something that I had ever done before, because I would get in trouble in high school, and so it was like an opportunity, like, oh my gosh, I can do this. If I just want to go shopping right now rather than going to my English class, I can. Quickly realizing the responsibility that goes along with it as well. So I went from, like, ooh, I'm going to skip a class, and like I said, I think I only did that like a couple of times. And now I'm going to go to class and I'm going to study and I'm going to work really hard to figure this out, because this is on me, and it was during that time where I really kind of started figuring out how I learned and how I studied and what was the most effective for me and where my priorities were and how much I needed to spend on homework and stuff, and how I organized things to keep track of assignments and getting papers done and all that sort of stuff. And that was really, like, that was the point where I was like, okay, I'm actually enjoying this, because I was the one responsible for it. I was the one who had the control of the situation. I needed to get XYZ done, and it was all up to me to get it done. So we decided, public school we do not feel is appropriate for us and for our family, and charter school isn't an option. Private school isn't an option either. We don't have a private school option here either. So we are going to homeschool. And my daughter isn't even 2 years old yet. So like I said, we may change our minds about before we even got pregnant, we were talking about like, okay, what are we going to do as far as educating our child? Are we going to do private school? Are we going to do public school? At the time when we were having these discussions, we were living somewhere where we had an option of a private school, public school, charter school, or homeschool. All of those were options then. And my husband was very much like, okay, I want either public school or private school. It's like, okay. And then he started, hearing more about what's going on in the public schools and started looking more into like the educational standards and whatnot. And then he kind of got on me like, okay, I would be good with charter school and private school, not so much the public school anymore. Okay. And was always like very like poo-poo to the idea of homeschooling. He's been around my nieces and nephews that are homeschooled, like, it is what it is. Like, it's kind of what you make it, sort of thing. And now that where we live, we had the discussion again. And the easy option would be to send her to the local, watching tons of videos on, gals and guys that homeschool their kids and the different curriculums. I actually got a catalog from a company called Sunlight, S-O-N, Sunlight. What I've seen from a lot of other homeschooling parents is that they find that some curriculums from some companies, one of their kids may enjoy it, the other one may not. It's kind of kid preference and kid driven. And so, we'll start, what I'm planning on doing, unless things change drastically, what I'm planning on doing is actually getting the all subjects package from Sunlight for her kindergarten year and going through all of those and seeing how she does with each of the subjects. If she, doesn't like the particular way that the math is presented, we might go with a different math curriculum. Sunlight actually has several different math curriculums. They have Math UC is the primary one that they include in the all subjects package. And then they also partner with Horizons, which is another curriculum company for their math course. There's Singapore Math. There's Miquon, I think is called. Miquon, something like that. Which actually, reading the description of the curriculum, my husband really, really liked, because it doesn't focus on memorizing formulas. It focuses on understanding concepts and understanding relationships and why we do things the way we do in math. So we'll see how she does with each of them, and from there we can kind of decide, is this, are we going to go with the all subjects package each year from this particular company, or do we need to branch off and do different curriculums for certain subjects based on how she's learning, based on how she understands things and how she needs things presented and explained. To a certain extent, it is a little bit of a trial and error with the homeschooling curriculums, but the trial and error is just trial and error for one kid. the nice thing is we spend so much time with our daughter, reading books and playing with different toys. So we are already kind of catching on and figuring out how she learns, and she learns, at least right now, by observation and by repetition. So and that's pretty standard for a toddler. But we're going to continue to play. We're going to continue to do some coloring and start doing some more fine motor things and start learning a few of the alphabet letters. And she already knows probably a handful of them she can identify. And there's a few numbers that she can identify too. There's tons of homeschool curriculums. Not all of them are Christian based. I think most of them are, but not all of them. There is, and that's another thing that I appreciate about the Sunlight curriculum, is that they don't omit the theory of evolution. They don't omit that sort of stuff. They actually present it, and to allow the parents and the children to have those conversations, to be able to understand, so that the children, when they do get out, say they go to college or whatever, and they're confronted with some conflicting viewpoints and beliefs, that they aren't totally caught off guard and they don't know how to have a conversation about it. So I do really appreciate that, and so does my husband. We're very much academics, I guess, for lack of a better term. We enjoy learning. We enjoy understanding information. And does that mean that we believe everything we read? Absolutely not. It means that we are eternal skeptics because of how many different conflicting viewpoints and conflicting pieces of information we can run into just in one topic. But we don't shy away from alternative viewpoints and from rationale for why we believe what we believe and why we live our lives the way we do. It's not by happenstance that we do things. We make very conscious very conscious, intentional decisions about pretty much everything in our lives. So, which for a lot of people probably sounds exhausting going into our normal routine, because one of the things that I think is very much misunderstood is that one parent has to be staying home in order to homeschool a child, and that's not the case. A child can be homeschooled with both parents working, and both parents working outside of the home. So our plan is going to be, at least initially, for our daughter to start with continuing in daycare, but then doing kindergarten homework. And with the Sunlight curriculum, there is some things that the child does pretty much independently. There's a few pieces in there. In the first year, not nearly as much as it increases how much they do on their own as they get further along in the curriculum. But even in the kindergarten, and so those things we can send with her to daycare, and our daycare lady will just kind of supervise and make sure she's getting it done. And then we can do the rest of the stuff at home in the evenings when my husband and I are home. With my husband's schedule right now, he works Sunday night, Monday night, Tuesday night. So he works 3 nights a week, and that leaves all day, basically all day Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, for him to get projects done, do whatever. And then we're going to basically use those other 3 days of the week as kind of like our catch-up days if we need to. So I would love to do some homesteading stuff with her, teaching her about plants and gardening. And they do have homeschool curriculums that are like botany and whatnot. Now, I haven't looked into this. I'm sure they do, but I don't know if they go to like the kindergarten grade level curriculums, that sort of thing. But I think it would be great to be able to do that. Hey, and we don't have to, stick to the typical, August, September through May calendar year. We can do like, hey, it's, February, we're going to start our plant class. and so that way we can actually do the majority of the class during the season that we're going to have plants growing. That would be so much fun to do that. But that would carry us past the end of the traditional school year. So it's not something that they can really do in public schools necessarily. They're not doing very well. But at this point, it's all just fun and games. She's not even preschool. Like, she is very much a toddler. She is smart as a whip. With how much she is able to identify and interact and figure things out and engage and whatnot. I have to almost remind myself that she's not even 2 years old yet, because she behaves and she does a lot of things that are significantly beyond her years. It's not that I'm trying to rush her through and rush her into doing homeschooling and doing classwork and doing that sort of thing. But I want her to be challenged. I want her to be engaged and to be interested. I don't want her to get bored, because I know what happened when I got bored, and I know what happens when my husband gets bored. And I've seen what happened when Mina gets bored. And it's not a good thing. I want her to stay challenged and engaged. Let's do that. We are going to have to watch her as she gets older, that she doesn't just get frustrated and give up on things, because it's not coming easy to her. We really need to instill and make sure that, we identify it. Yeah, this is frustrating. I know you're having a hard time with this, but keep working at it. It's going to get easier. You don't get better at something without practice. And instill that desire to continue to try and practice. She's not even 2 yet. Something could definitely drastically change. I doubt that it will, but something could. But right now, that's kind of the plan, is we're going to do homeschooling. She's going to go to daycare during the day, even when she's at kindergarten age. And then we're going to either send some of her homework to daycare that she can work on by herself, and then finish up any schoolwork that we need to in the evenings. Lots more details to figure out, but yeah. I'm excited. All right, I'm going to continue to do my research on homeschooling things and continue to work on stuff around here. My basil is doing phenomenal outside. My thyme is really taken off these last few days. It has just shot up. I have spinach, really small leaves so far, but I have spinach. My broccoli is almost starting to look like it's going to start to produce. I have tomatoes that have some flowers on them. This is my second big harvest of rhubarb, and I had to do this one because they were literally crowding themselves out. Like, this was a necessity. It's been about every other day that I've gone out and picked at least a few stalks of asparagus. Today I actually got a pretty decent handful of asparagus. The kale in the garden is doing well, naturally, because neither my husband or I really like kale, so of course that's the one that does well. I'll keep you posted. Good night. See you soon.